28,000 personnel comprising 85 submarine crews, their submarines, and associated supporting organizations. Please join me in welcoming the Commander of Submarine Forces, Vice Admiral Joe Tafalo.
Well, Matt, thank you for that very kind introduction. It is always an absolute thrill to be back here at Newport News. As the Commander of the Submarine Force, to look up and see that right there is just absolutely awesome, as you can expect. Mr. Vice President, Senator Donnelly, members of the Virginia delegation, Secretary Stackley, distinguished platform guests, shipbuilders, the crew and the family of the Indiana and fellow friends of the submarine force. Again, just a true treat to be here for the christening of this fantastic new submarine. I want to specifically recognize Mrs. Diane Donald, who for 37 years has been an integral part of the submarine force family. Few are as deserving as you are, ma'am, for this position of submarine sponsor, and it is just a real treat to be with you here today, ma'am. I, too, would like to congratulate our amazing shipbuilders who make Virginia and the Virginia-class submarine the best submarine on the planet. We need Indiana to be just that, so that this crew can take her into harm's way anywhere in the world. From the polar ice cap to the Western Pacific to the Mediterranean and Arabian seas, Indiana will operate in the most challenging environments on Earth as her crew protects America's strategic interests throughout the world, on scene, unseen, providing assured access and influence. For the crew of Indiana, despite the magnificence of this new submarine, it is nothing without you, and we need you. Combatant commanders around the world are asking for more and more submarines because there are some very important things that need to be done, and many that only you can do. As a maritime nation, the responsibility to prevent challengers from using the sea to threaten the United States falls on our Navy. As systems proliferate that are designed to deny us ocean areas because of your assured access and influence, this share of responsibility that falls on the submarine force is only likely to grow. Crews like you, operating submarines like Indiana, who can get in underneath an adversary's systems, are the key that unlock the door for the greater joint force. Congratulations on being part of this tremendous challenge and opportunity. Skipper Zimbauer, as Indiana's commanding officer, on your shoulders rests the ultimate responsibility, authority, and accountability for the performance of this ship and crew. It is your job to ensure that your people are always the silent victors, as your ship motto calls you to be. Mrs. Donald, the Indiana is privileged to have your energy and compassion as part of this ship's legacy. On behalf of 28,000 submariners in our Navy, I thank you for your continued support of your submarine force family. Ladies and gentlemen, I eagerly await the day when USS Indiana assumes the watch as the first nuclear-powered U.S. warship named in honor of the Hoosier State. Congratulations again to shipbuilder, crew, and sponsor. May God bless the submarine force and the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Admiral. Our next speaker calls Indiana home. He attended the University of Notre Dame. After college, he ran a small business and also practiced law in the state before being elected to public office. He previously represented the 2nd Congressional District of Indiana, and today he represents Indiana in the U.S. Senate, where he serves on the Armed Services Committee, a committee near and dear to shipbuilding. Please welcome Senator Joe Donnelly.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a real privilege. Thank you to all of you for having me here. Mr. Vice President, it's extraordinary to be here with you in this place. I don't think a year ago either you or I thought we would be here for this afternoon. To Mrs. Donald, what a wonderful sponsor. We are so fortunate to have you representing our name. To the captain and the XO and the Cobb, to all of our suppliers who put their heart and soul into this every single day, to our guests, our elected representatives from Indiana, from around the country, to all our friends from Indiana and around the country who have traveled here, to the shipbuilders who have done this incredible magic. When you think it can't be done, all you have to do is look. And to the plank owners and members of the Battleship Indiana, you saved our country, you saved our lives. God bless you so much for everything you have done. Well, my dad was an enlisted Navy man. And he said, "Joe, stay away from admirals and officers. Only bad things can happen." I tell him, "Dad, I have no choice today." But I know this. He did the laundry. He swabbed the decks. Captain, he would be proud to be part of your crew here today on the USS Indiana. And we know this. This ship will go into harm's way. We are a nation at war. Every day, all you have to do is pick up the paper to see the dangers that we see out there. And these men, this crew, are going to be at the very tip of the spear. And you have given them the tools, the equipment, the ability to accomplish everything here. We are so proud of everything you are working on, of the training you will be doing, of the precision work you are focused on, and the safety you are providing to all Americans. And as I know our other Hoosiers feel the same way, we're very, very proud of this crew and boat. We feel it's a reflection of our state. Congressman, we think we're a lot like the Commonwealth. We're hardworking. We're dedicated. We look out for one another. We love our country. As a vice president would tell you, as he was our former commander-in-chief of the Indiana National Guard, we have more members in the Indiana National Guard per capita than any other state in the country. We are workhorses. We are not show horses. We don't look for a fight, but we really enjoy one. And we'll finish them in a pretty strong way. So, Captain, on behalf of the people of Indiana, we're grateful for your leadership. We're grateful to these great companies that have built this, for this boat, which carries our name, to the amazing crew who will lead it, to the shipbuilders who have kept our nation safe. We're grateful to all of you. So God bless this boat, God bless Indiana, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Our next speaker serves as the Acting Secretary of the Navy and leads America's Navy and Marine Corps. He is responsible for an annual budget in excess of $170 billion and leadership of almost 900,000 people. We are happy to welcome him back to the shipyard. Please welcome the Acting Secretary of the Navy, Sean Stackley.
Mr. Vice President, Senator Donnelly, today we are all Hoosiers. Today we are all shipbuilders. Today we are the officers and crew of the Indiana. Today we are the United States Navy. And what a great day today is. Virginia delegation, your strong voice on Capitol Hill makes ours a stronger Navy. Thanks for all that you do on behalf of our sailors and Marines. Senator Winter, good to see you today. Admiral Caldwell, Admiral Donald, welcome back to your Navy, but you can relax today, sir. Mrs. Donald has the watch. Diane, you've touched the Navy in many lasting ways through the years. It is most fitting that you put your touch to this, the newest boat in our Navy. And to the skilled shipbuilders of Newport News, an electric boat, you have built well. As we sit here today, within reach of the Gerald R. Ford, the newest and most powerful aircraft carrier in the world, to christen the newest and most capable submarine in the world, warships that could only be built here in America. One can only marvel at your great workmanship, which is exceeded only by your great patriotism. Bound by two great oceans, what has remained true throughout our history remains true to this day, that we are a maritime nation, that the freedoms born by the promise of our Constitution, the freedoms that have been preserved by the blood of patriots, the freedoms that we cherish so deeply here in America, that the blessings of these freedoms and the strength of our Navy are one and inseparable. And it has been our heritage, our grace, that throughout our history, heroes in blue jackets, and today in Cracker Jacks, American sailors have stepped forward to man our ships, to answer all bells, to serve our nation. Heroes like the officers and crew of the battleship Indiana, BB-58, who at the darkest hour of the last century, when our nation's need was greatest, helped turn the tide of the war in the Pacific. Gentlemen, all members of that greatest generation, our Navy owes you and your shipmates a tremendous debt of gratitude. And today we pay that debt in the best way we know how. For today we pass the torch to a new generation of American sailors who, like you, will proudly call themselves the Indiana, and who, like you, will sail far from our shores to protect this land that we love. And so it is that today, from the Eastern Mediterranean to the Straits of Hormuz, from the Straits of Malacca to the Sea of Japan, more than 100 U.S. Navy ships are underway, providing assurance to our allies, maintaining persistent surveillance in regions of interest, conducting special operations undetected, safeguarding the choke points of the world, standing poised to assure access, to strike if necessary, to provide humanitarian relief if needed, and all the while serving as the enduring, reliable deterrent that underpins our nation's security. To say that they are the best at what they do does not do them justice, for among all the world's navies, none other can do what they do. Our heroes in blue jackets, our heroes in Cracker Jacks, our American sailors. And today, they are made more strong as we add to their number. And so we commend to you, the officers and crew of the Indiana, as we consider the service that you will render to our nation in the years ahead. We wish you Godspeed. Godspeed, Indiana. God bless your sponsor, who gives you grace. God bless your crew. He gives you strength. And God bless these United States, whom you will protect. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Stackley. It is now my distinct pleasure and privilege to welcome our next speaker. We are honored that Vice President Mike Pence could take time out of his busy schedule to serve as our keynote speaker today. It speaks volumes about his respect of the United States Navy of American workers and of his home state, Indiana, for which this submarine is named. Born and raised in Indiana by parents who taught him the importance of hard work, Mike Pence earned a law degree, began a syndicated talk radio show, and along the way got married and raised 3 children. And he did all of this in Indiana. Growing up there, surrounded by good, hard-working Hoosiers, Vice President Mike Pence always knew that he needed to give back to the state and the country that had given him so much. In 2000, he launched a successful bid for his local congressional seat, and the people of Indiana elected him 6 times to represent them in Congress. In 2013, Vice President Pence left the nation's capital when he was elected the 50th governor of Indiana. During his time as governor, he invited the Indiana crew and her sponsor to his home state for visits, and as always demonstrated great interest in this submarine and her sailors. Last summer, Vice President Pence was selected as the vice presidential candidate, and the American people elected him and President Donald Trump into office on November 8, 2016. We're delighted to have him with us today. Please join me in welcoming the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence.
Acting Secretary Stackley, Mrs. Diana Donald and the Admiral, Admiral Fargo, Vice Admiral Tafalo, Vice Admiral Malloy, Captain Lemon, Commander Zimbauer, Petty Officer Ha, the crew members of the USS Indiana, present and the past members of the crew of the USS Indiana, members of the United States Navy, distinguished guests, I bring greetings from your Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States of America, President Donald Trump. It is my great privilege, on his behalf, to join you here today for the christening of what will soon be the best-named boat in the United States Navy, the USS Indiana. Senator Donnelly, Congressman Scott, members of the Virginia delegation, and members of the Indiana General Assembly who are with us here today. It is a real joy for me to be with you. As I served as governor of the state of Indiana, I learned of this extraordinary boat, but I could not have well imagined that I would be standing before you today in this moment with the great privilege to be at this christening. And I thank you all for being here and for the work that you have done to arrive at this moment, christening the new USS Indiana, just one day shy of the 75th anniversary of the dedication and christening of the last USS Indiana. That feels providential to me. So to Matt Mullerin, to Jeff Geiger, to Mike Petters, to Samuel Brandon, to the extraordinary craftsmen of Newport News Shipbuilding, let's give these great builders a round of applause. This is impressive work. You know, today marks the 100th day since President Donald Trump took his oath of office, and I took mine. And he sent me here today on this historic occasion as a sign of his deep commitment to the armed forces of the United States of America, and to his commitment to make the strongest fighting force in the world even stronger still. You know, it's the greatest privilege of my life to serve as Vice President to a president who is so dedicated to the men and women of our armed forces, to their families, to our veterans, and to the brave Americans who work tirelessly every day to support our military. And that really includes all the shipbuilders that we just applauded a few moments ago. For more than 120 years, the men and women gathered here, many of you, second and third and fourth generation shipbuilders, have built from the bottom up the American fleets that have fostered security and prosperity on the high seas and between our land and distant others. Know today that you have the gratitude, all the builders gathered here, you have the gratitude of our Commander-in-Chief for your unwavering commitment to your country, your patriotism, your craftsmanship, and rest assured, President Trump will honor your commitment with historic investments in our national defense. In just his first 100 days in office, President Trump has already taken decisive action to end an era of budget cuts to America's military and to America's security. The President has actually submitted a budget which will rebuild our military, restore the arsenal of democracy, and we will move in the next year one of the largest increases in defense spending since the days of President Ronald Reagan. And just next week, with President Trump's leadership and the strong support of the members of Congress gathered here today, Congress will pass a spending bill with long overdue investments in our military readiness even before this fiscal year ends. That's what leadership looks like. At a time of mounting threats across the globe, President Trump has made it clear. America's national security is this president's highest priority, now and always. Rest assured, President Trump will make the strongest fighting force in the world strongest still. For as history attests, when America is strong, the world is safe. And the USS Indiana will bear witness to this truth. You know, it really is deeply humbling for this son of Indiana to be here today at the christening of this mighty and majestic boat, the Virginia-class nuclear submarine, the USS Indiana. I have to tell you, it's more than a little bit emotional to me to be standing here in Newport News, seeing the Indiana flag fluttering just below the American flag behind you all. Makes me feel like I'm back home. This boat bears the name, I can promise you, of one of the most patriotic states in America. And I truly believe that she reflects the unmatchable courage and the unwavering spirit of those Hoosiers, past and present, who stood up and stepped forward to defend the flame of freedom. You know, for generations stretching back into the midst of American history, the sons and daughters of Indiana have donned the uniform to serve our nation, and they've done so with distinction and with courage. Our history books are filled with proof. In the wake of World War II, no less an authority than the United States Navy declared Indiana's representation in the Navy was, quote, extraordinary in quality, with 3 of the 7 admirals in 1944 hailing from the Hoosier State. The 12 stars they had between them shone bright, not just on the Wabash, but on waves all across the world. The Navy's recognition of Indiana's service and sacrifice goes back even further. The boat that sits beside me today is not the first to bear the name of the USS Indiana, as we've heard many times from this podium. Captain Zimbauer, you and the men and women who you will lead are the heirs of a long and proud tradition that reaches back into the 19th century. 126 years ago, tomorrow, in 1891, the keel of the first USS Indiana was laid down in Philadelphia. Less than 2 years later, she steamed out of dry dock and into American history. In the Spanish-American War, the USS Indiana joined the blockade of Santiago, where she helped sink 2 Spanish vessels and eliminated an entire fleet. The second ship to bear the name was even more impressive. From 1939 to 1941, this very shipyard built and launched a second battleship emblazoned with the USS Indiana on her seal. From the Solomon Islands to Iwo Jima, she served on the front lines of freedom and helped establish a foundation of peace and prosperity that reigns in the Asian Pacific to this very day. And I'm humbled to say that these 14 members of that very crew are here with us today, including, I'm told, 2 of her plank owners who were there at her commissioning, Ozen Carrier and John Wright. Would you all mind giving a standing ovation one more time to the extraordinary crew of the USS Indiana and to those 2 plank holders who are with us today? You know, men, I never saw your ship in all her glory, but she still lives on in the hearts and minds of Hoosiers, more than just memory. I can tell you the teak planks from her main deck were actually made into a beautiful desk that every Indiana governor has sat behind since 1964, me included. It was always very humbling for me to come to work every day at the Indiana State House and rest my elbows on the deck of a battleship. Now we turn the page to another chapter in Hoosier history, and it'll be just as proud. This USS Indiana, the third to bear the name, the first submarine, is a worthy inheritor of the name and legacy of our state. And already she bears the mark of Indiana, not just in her name, but from bow to stern. More than 100 Hoosier businesses have contributed to this boat's creation in one way or another. At least 2 members of her crew and 4 of her shipbuilders hail from our great state. And so many of the volunteers for the commissioning committee call Indiana home. Would you mind giving all the Hoosiers who are here a big, big round of applause, especially those 2 on the crew? You know, I'm personally grateful to everyone who's lent their time, their talent, and their treasure to the USS Indiana. And I know that President Trump is thankful as well. You know, this submarine is the most advanced to ever serve America. Steel within her skeleton, all 7,600 tons, and the steel in the hearts of her crew form the unbreakable, unshakable backbone of American freedom. When the USS Indiana goes to sea in just a few short weeks, she'll give witness to our country's strength of will and to our strength of arms. And as her sailors begin to fulfill their duty, they'll do so, as the saying goes, not for self, but for country, proving through their service and their sacrifice that those that stand before us in those emblazoned white uniforms, they are from the rest of us, but they are the best of us. We know they're ready. We pray they never feel the heat of battle, but we're grateful that the U.S. Indiana will be ready. We'll be there, beneath the waves, the hidden chariot of the silent victors, faithfully guarding our freedom, faithfully guarding our way of life. And so, on behalf of the Commander-in-Chief, President Donald Trump, we christen the USS Indiana. And today, this humbled son of Indiana is truly grateful to have the opportunity to be with you today, to see my beloved state and all of her people so aptly embodied in this extraordinary boat. From this day forward, the spirit and the service of the Hoosier State will find a home on the 7 seas, in this majestic and mighty submarine, and in the proud crew who walk her decks. And only a few short months from now, when she completes her maiden voyage, the world will take note, for the USS Indiana signifies the enduring strength and leadership of the United States, a beacon of freedom in these stormy and uncertain times. Know today that under President Donald Trump, that beacon will shine bright, brighter than ever before. And with this president's leadership, the United States, I believe, is entering a new era of security, prosperity, and strength. And so I close with a word of confidence that with your help, with God's help, with the USS Indiana at sea, with the great armed forces of the United States of America and the valor and vigilance of all those who serve, that today we go forth to meet a glorious future together. May God bless and protect the USS Indiana and all who serve aboard her every day beneath our 7 seas. May God bless Indiana, and may God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Vice President Pence. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our ship sponsor. A sponsor is said to impart her spirit into the ship, and I can think of no one more deserving of such an honor. Diane Donald's partnership with the Navy actually began at an Army-Navy football game where she met a young Naval Academy midshipman. As the story goes, they had a nice time, went to a local bar after the game ended, hung out until her date and his classmate had to board the bus, head back to the Naval Academy. Diane and her friend walked the men to their bus, said their goodbyes. As the bus pulled away, Diane and her friend realized they were lost, by themselves in an unfamiliar town, with their dates safely on a bus back to Annapolis. Diane, we're glad you found your way home and that you gave that midshipman who left you stranded another chance. She ended up marrying him, and she has admirably served our Navy and our nation for 37 years. Diane has approached her role as Indiana's sponsor with the same sense of duty, dedication, and enthusiasm. In fact, I hear she's been emailing our christening team this week at 3 a.m. just to make sure she was prepared and ready for today's event. Diane, we appreciate your commitment, and we are honored that you will be forever affiliated with this great submarine and with our shipbuilders. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our ship sponsor for Indiana, Mrs. Diane Donald.
Thank you, Matt, for that kind introduction. It meant a lot. Mr. Vice President, thank you for being here today. This is not the first time you've shared your time with some of the crew in Indiana in me. 2 years ago, you graciously hosted us as Governor of Indiana in your office during Navy Week. And while I don't think any of us foresaw the events that have brought you here today, I am honored to have you participate in the christening of the great ship Indiana as our Vice President. To all our distinguished guests, and most notably our veterans from USS Indiana, BB-58, thank you for being here today. And to all the families and friends from Indiana, welcome. I would say the sun is shining on Indiana today. It's the honor of a lifetime to be here today. I can just feel the pride and commitment of our shipbuilders, crew members, and the citizens of Indiana for their ship. While the size of this submarine alone is stunning, the complexity inside sets it apart from any other machine ever built. As you walk the tight, narrow passageways, it's hard to fathom how everything fits inside, but it's obvious that every square inch of space has its purpose. Much of the credit for this belongs to our highly skilled shipbuilders from Newport News Shipbuilding and Electric Boat. I've been able to visit these shipyards and can attest to both the difficulty of what they do as well as to their skill and dedication. These ships are second to none, made in America by truly remarkable Americans. To the shipbuilders, you give the absolute best of yourselves to deliver a safe, well-built submarine that will carry our sailors to sea in defense of our country. It's important that your families can see the fruits of your labor displayed here today and share in your sense of pride and accomplishment. From me, the ship sponsor, thank you. Thank you for a job well done on Indiana. I know I'm not the only one overflowing with pride today. Just think about the folks from the state of Indiana. It's been over 75 years since a ship has been named in honor of that great state. During my visit to Indianapolis for Navy Week in 2015, the Indiana State Fair was location central for Hoosiers to get to know their Indiana sailors. These welcoming, hardworking, and patriotic people embraced their crew. They are the epitome of Middle America, representing cities, towns, and farms with an industrious spirit, a bent for hospitality, and an unwavering respect for the military and their veterans. Coming from Washington, D.C., I quickly realized I was not on the Beltway anymore, and it was quite refreshing. Indiana is represented here today by the members of the Commissioning Committee and the citizens who are working hard to build lasting bonds between the state and the ship. Thank you for all your support. Along with the shipbuilders, sailors, Indiana State supporters, and dignitaries, there is a group of unsung heroes here today. All the spouses, children, moms and dads, grandparents, aunts and uncles, extended family and friends of the team that is building and will take Indiana to sea. These folks are the support network that are there unselfishly and unconditionally. They share in both the challenges and accomplishments without a lot of credit or acknowledgement. For those of us who have been around submarining for a while, we know there is no success without them. Many of my unsung heroes are here today, and to them, thank you from the bottom of my heart. For Team Indiana families and friends, thank you for all you have done to make this day possible and for what you will do to continue to make your sailors and Indiana the pride of the fleet. And finally, to the Indiana crew, you are my rock stars. You're looking sharp in the uniform of our nation today. You get to show off your ship a bit today, and that is totally deserved. It can all look a little glamorous on a day like today, but we know looks are deceiving. I know a thing or two about your hard work and sacrifice. I also know that the days ahead will present you many more challenges, but will leave you with a sense of accomplishment when you finally take your ship to sea. Submarining is a tough business. Schedules are, shall we say, flexible for a submariner and their families. Expect the unexpected is a way of life. Submariners deploy for months at a time to who knows where, doing who knows what. Whatever it involves, they usually seem anxious to go and do more of it. During their time at sea, they miss holidays, birthdays, anniversaries, graduations, births, and family losses. While in port, a submariner's mind is never far from the waterfront, working long, tireless hours on repairs and whatever else it takes to keep the ship in fighting shape. Submarines are demanding partners requiring a special breed of sailor and a dedication to teamwork that is unprecedented. As I've had the chance to spend time with you during visits to the ship, travels to show the American public some Indiana pride, and to celebrate with you at submarine birthday balls, I know you, individually and as a team, have what it takes. You represent that special breed, submariner. I am so proud of you, all that you have accomplished and will continue to do as a member of the Navy team that will ready Indiana for the fleet. Please count me as your biggest fan. You are in my thoughts and prayers, and I'm rooting for you every day. May God bless this ship, her crew, our Navy, and the United States of America. Thank you.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. I'd like to ask Diane Donald, Vice President Pence, and Commander Zimbauer to join me as we make our way to the bottle break platform. When we get there, the shipyard whistle will sound, indicating it's time to christen SSN 789. After the christening, we'll return to the stage for a special presentation.
I christen thee United States ship Indiana. May God bless this submarine and all who sail in her.